Hello, everybody. Are you struggling with making more of your Pinterest traffic? Do you know that every dollar you spend on email marketing has the potential to bring you a $44 return? I didn't know that. Would you love to be able to grow a targeted email list with the help of Pinterest? Well, I think we all really want to. Hello, folks. I'm Jeff C. with Manly Pinterest Tips, and I'm here with my co-host, Elisa Meredith, Content Marketing Manager at Tailwind. And we are so happy that you guys are all here. Now, we want you, as we're going through the show, to make sure to feel free to ask us any questions, and we're going to try to bring up as many of them as we can with the show. And listen, we've been really, really close to getting almost 300 people on here at the same time live. So we're having a little contest. I think it's going to happen today. I don't know about Elisa, but we kind of have a little thing going. But I think we can do it. So if we get 300 viewers and the first person to take a screenshot of that, post it down below, will win a free Tailwind t-shirt. So I'm so excited.
I gotta tell you something. I gotta tell you something about that Tailwind t-shirt.
Okay.
It is the softest t-shirt in the world.
You know, that's funny that you say that, because that is what I sleep in it. I mean, that's my nighttime t-shirt that I wear, and it's getting a little rough. I need to probably figure out a way to finagle a new one. But anyway, you think you might be able to do that?
So soft, yeah. And it's cute too.
So very cool. I want to say hello to Stephen B. O'Sullivan for joining us. Melissa is here with us. Alexander, Alice, Jill, Naomi, Monique. Thank you guys so much for being here. And feel free to ask your questions as we get going. And wow, this is a big topic, Elisa. So, I mean, everybody wants to build their email list. If you're not, well, this is a good time to start. And Pinterest can really help with that. So, and to be honest, when I first started doing Pinterest, I think you were the first one I went to when I needed help with this, because you had it kind of dialed in. I remember a client specifically you're working for that was selling, kind of doing recipes, and you were having really good success with you were on my show actually, and we talked about it because you were doing so well with converting those people who were coming from Pinterest. So I am really excited to pick your brain. I know a lot of people who are watching here live with us and watching the replay are too. So tell us just kind of the bird's eye view. How can we really grow our email list with Pinterest?
No, I've been lying to you all these years.
Still time. You've been lying, yeah.
Time, yes. Yeah, of course you can. So, we usually talk about Pinterest and traffic, but of course the next step from traffic is going to be converting people to your email list. It's not usually going to be the case where someone goes to your website from Pinterest and the very first time they buy something from you or they sign up for a service from you. Rather, they're going to join your email list. And usually when they do, it's not often because of your sign up to get my free email.
Right.
Sign up on your blog. It's more often going to be because you've offered something in return. What people call them lead magnets or opt-ins or freebies. I think freebies is used quite a bit on Pinterest itself. So yeah, absolutely. You just got to turn that traffic into leads, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Cool. So we've already got some questions, but I want to go in and talk about. So, kind of tell us. Let's say people who have no idea on even how to get started with converting. They have a decent Pinterest account. They're active on the platform. They're starting to see some traction. They're getting some links back to their site. What would make a good lead magnet? I know some people are going like, you're talking about freebies and lead magnets. What are those, and where do I start to make one? I mean, I want to get some of this traffic. What do I do?
Yeah. So think about what would be useful enough to your followers that is related to your business, right? It's some way that you're helping people anyway. So for example, in my case, a popular lead magnet that I have is a promoted pins checklist. So it takes you through every step of setting up a promoted pin, and it has links to help you figure out what choices you should make there. And that thing gets downloaded all the time. And the reason is because it's super useful. It's not just a checklist. It's also extra information if you need it. And that was really easy to create. So just create a Word document or a Google document, whatever you use, and convert it to a PDF. And then you can use something like lead pages.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are other tools that we'll talk about as well.
Right.
And then just have a little opt-in and a link to the thank you page with the download, and people sign up for that. If it's good enough that somebody might pay a couple dollars for it and it would be worth it for them, then it's good enough to get an email address out of.
Okay, very cool. So, yeah, I use lead pages as well, and a lot of these services make it really easy. So, let's say, you know, like for me, I created a tackle box, a mainly Pinterest tackle box. It has my tools that I use to create stuff for Pinterest and for visual marketing. So, it's really easy. I created that as just like you do, as a PDF. Well, I can upload that to lead pages. Someone clicks on my pin, goes to my landing page, and is able to automatically download it. Lead Pages handles all that because I've already uploaded to it. I don't, because there's a question in here that do we email it? And the cool thing about some of these services, they do it all for you, so you don't have to. Now, if you were wanting to bootstrap this yourself, you could probably do that, but hopefully you'd be getting so much traffic from Pinterest that you would I have to get a service, because there's no way that I'm going to have to sit here and in my email inbox and do this. So like Lead Pages does that, and we'll talk about some other ones as well.
So I like it better when I opt in for a freebie or an opt-in like that. I like to get it right away. I don't want to wait for it to be emailed to me. Mm-hmm. So most of those lead capturing systems will allow you to have the download link right on the thank you page, which I think is preferable, especially people from Pinterest are like, I want it right now.
Right. And you don't want to, and you want to have the least amount of friction for people to get that service. And so, you know, make it super easy. They just have to, you know, put their email address and click one button and boom, they get it. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Let's see. We do have a question I want to pull up from Cheryl. I thought it was a good one. She goes, does this work with retail or only service? And I think that's a great question, because a lot of people, we see a lot of service-based, like get my free checklist on how to do, you know, Instagram or whatever. We see a lot of that on Pinterest. But what about like if you have a flower shop or something like that? What are your suggestions?
Yeah, a flower shop or something with the national audience would probably be a better example. So Teachers Pay Teachers, that's a group that I work with quite a bit. They have educational resources that they sell on Pinterest to teachers, and it's incredibly successful. Teachers are just trained to buy from Pinterest, but the way that people will get people on their email list so they can market to them outside of Teachers Pay Teachers even is to offer some free downloads. So it might be a free reading center station for second grade, like, or how to set up your classroom for day one of kindergarten. You know, just something very simple that you can offer that's related to your product. And it depends on your industry, of course. So if you're selling something related to weddings, you might have a wedding checklist or a wedding planner. Like, here's your timeline. Here's what you have to have planned by here, here, and here. And you can work in a subtle little sell for your own product, or not. Just make it completely useful, but make sure it's branded so that when they're using it, they remember where it came from. And of course, then you have them on your email list.
Right. Right. And we'll have we have some follow-up questions on email, but this is a great, like, really practical thing, because I know a lot of people on Pinterest use this. This is from Elizabeth, and she asks, is a free course which requires entering a password better as a lead magnet, or a PDF which does not require creating a password?
So a course is
That's
kind
a
of
tough question.
It is. I'm trying to map it out in my head. But the thing about Pinterest is that people are so very top of funnel when they find you on Pinterest usually. So they're brand new to you and your service. So it's unlikely that they're even going to sign up for a free course in most cases. So I would think a lead magnet and a PDF that doesn't require a password, because like you said, any kind of friction is going to cause lower conversions. So get them in with a lead magnet, like an ebook or a checklist, or it can be pretty simple, and then get them into the course. But you've at least gotten them onto your email list at that point.
So here, that brought up an interesting question. And for me, I would test it, because if you do have both, then it wouldn't hurt my feelings putting both of those out there. The only reason I'm saying that is because with you when you do a free course, that might be something because they're already in there and they're seeing that you're a really that you know how to teach this, and you're showing them that you have this, and then you can upsell. I'm certain a paid course or something later, and so that would be the only reason I would think. But you're right. I think it's right at the top of the funnel. But I also would want to test it and see if people would come to my free course because that's so hard. I just have to test it because it's a good question, and I would put both of them out there just to see what would happen.
Yeah, if you could do both, I would do both. But if you're asking, you only have time to do one, I would do the PDF first.
And it would probably take less time than a course. And then those people you could actually in your email sequence, you could push them towards the free course. Mm-hmm. But you just have to see how that would all work. So great question, though.
It is a great question, Elizabeth. Thank you. But I think this kind of gets us to the point of, okay, so how do you promote it on Pinterest? Do you create a pin that is specifically for the lead magnet or freebie, or do you send them to a blog post first and hope they'll opt in there? What's your take on that, Jeff?
Having a specialized page that's really concise, because a lot of times when you go to just your website, even if you have it built into, I just like it to be really focused when you come from Pinterest and you land on there. And I'm sure you're talking about this, and I think you might even told me about this, was make sure that there's not a disconnect from the actual pin that they're coming from to your landing page. So if you're having the same image, that has captured their eye and they've clicked on it and they've gone to your landing page, then make sure that image is the same, or it's the different version of that photo shoot or something, so they know that they're on the right place and they're not going to click off. So I think that's really important. And that's kind of why I like having a specialized landing page, because you can really focus them and that they know that it's the correct spot, that they didn't hit spam, and then you can really have it like a big buttons, like click here to download my, my top tips or whatever it is. And I think it's easier to do on your own specific landing page. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm gonna take a different viewpoint. I am politely going to disagree with you.
Well, you're a blogger, so you just can say whatever you want. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like and this is what we used to do for our HubSpot Pinterest client. We would every month create a new downloadable, new opt-in offer. And all the blog posts for that month were in service of that offer. So the one we always talk about, because you always bring it up, is the smoothie recipes.
Right.
So every offer that month would be about something to do with smoothies, or how to get more vegetables or fruit in your diet, or something like that. A blog post that would lead logically to that kind of call to action of, get our recipes now. And just so that making sure you have plenty of content on your blog that supports that opt-in offer is a great way to bring in traffic, not just to a landing page, but also to a blog post. So I would do both, because of course, you when you're sending them to a blog post and hoping that they'll convert by going to a landing page, that's 2 steps you're hoping they'll take, as opposed to going right from Pinterest to a landing page. But pretty consistently, when you ask pinners about this, which works better for you, blog post or direct to landing page, and most will say blog post. And I think that's because it warms them up a little bit.
I'll push back a little bit on that, because I have a feeling most of the people you're asking are bloggers. And so I come from looking for it for clients who are doing products and maybe a service-based business. And sometimes it can be hard, I think, to convert, if you're doing a blog post, and the best way is to get Instagram, and you have an article about that, and then you have your download inside of that. I just like, boom, here's my top tips, download, give me your email address. I want that, instead of giving it all away in a blog post. I mean, and once again, I want to bring up this quote from Joan, because we're arguing about this stuff, but she says something really, really key, I think, and it was test, test, test. So that is very true. We can kind of debate the semantics and what's better, but it's, it depends on your niche. It depends on what you're trying to do, and it depends on where you're going. But, Elisa, I will defer to her. But well,
you don't have to, but I do want to say that we're not going to give it all away in those blog posts.
I know, but some of us who struggle with writing blog posts anyway, thinking I would rather write a really concise landing page and get their email address, and then having to, this is just me personally, write a blog post on top of that. So
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you to write 4 blog posts.
I know, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I mean, you've got to, even when you're just writing a blog post, you've got to do something with that traffic anyway. So you need to have some kind of lead magnet that you're using on all your blog posts anyway. So
right. Here's a great point, and this is probably would go to your point about why you should write a blog post, is because Christy goes, you can't write ads on them. You can't run ads on them. I just got busted on this. So,
but you can.
Oh, you can. Okay, tell us how.
You
Promoted
absolutely
Pins Wizard.
can. So the issue here is what they call a gated page. So they don't want you to send ad traffic on Pinterest to a gated page unless you have disclosed that in your description. So what you need to do is something like, ever wondered how to get more email subscribers? Sign up and get my 10-page ebook now for free. You have to let them know that they have to take an action before they can get the thing that you're promising on that page. So
gotcha. And
you can do it, but that is a sticky one.
Okay. I do want to bring up this comment also from Fatima. She goes, because it's on my side, she says, landing pages give you more information for you to understand what you're clicking on over to, in my opinion. See, I agree with her. And so since I'm running the comments, that's what we'll just show right there.
So when you're going to call it.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
But see, to me, you're not going to have a pin with your offer on it go to a blog post, because no, you're right. That would be a complete disconnect. You're going to have your blog post pin that will get the traffic over to your blog post, and then you're going to have that call to action. Oh, hey, while you're here, get my checklist or watch my webinar.
Well, and Trina does say that get plenty of content where they're landing on your blog. So we have both, and Stephen has, Stephen, I will give him the final word on this, because he does say, he goes, both methods are effective, but it totally depends on the audience. Correct, Stephen.
Very nice.
Extra points to you, because that is true. And it does, you have to test, and you also have to know your audience and what they're going to need and what they want. So very, very true. So,
so let's talk about how we test that, though, because if you're not running Pinterest ads, you're going to have to do it a little bit differently. You're going to have to probably create UTM codes. Let's see. How would you do it? If I were going to do it, I would create duplicates of my landing page, and I would use one pin to direct directly to my landing page, and have that one be like, oh, here's our direct landing page. And then I would have a duplicate of it that I only linked to from my blog posts. And then I'd be able to track how many of these leads were coming in from my blog posts versus how many were coming in direct to that landing page. So that's the only way you're going to know really what works.
Gotcha. We just got some great questions coming in. So this is a good one. She goes, it's Angela. She goes, I'm a blogger. I just want people to come from Pinterest and come to my site. But do I have to put hundreds of pins? I think that's a great question, because some people are like, I just want traffic. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, hundreds of pins eventually. Yeah, you're going to have hundreds of pins, but not today. Right. So if you don't have a ton of content, that's fine. Really, right now, the best bang for your buck, the best time investment you can make for your Pinterest traffic is going to be repurposing. So remixing images for the same content. It's going to give your content new life on Pinterest. It's going to attract new people. And you can use different text on the image to have a different SEO take. So if you have 20 pieces of content, you could have 100 pins in no time, but you don't have to.
Right. Start small. Don't get overwhelmed. And there's a quote by John Acuff that he goes, don't compare your start to somebody else's middle, that kind of thing. So just remember, just start working small. And the thing is, what's cool about Pinterest, it's a snowball effect, and it doesn't just go away. It starts to snowball a little bit if you continue to be consistent in your pinning. This is a great question from Laurel. I want to pull this one up. She goes, can you guys address lead magnets for product-based businesses? So that's when you were on my show, we talked about this, and we said, can we think of anything that would not work? And I think I made some smart comment saying like, well, maybe an undertaker wouldn't work. And then we got all these people going, no, you could have magnets about, how to deal with
Funeral
grief
planning.
and all this funeral. And I'm like, okay, I will never say that again. So,
I would like a specific. I'd like a specific. What is the product-based business? Because it's a little bit hard to make one up if you don't know what it is. So let us know.
Yeah, let us know what your business is. She also went ahead and said this, and so it'll be interested to see what her business is. She goes, my Pinterest traffic has a super high bounce rate, so I'd really love some ideas for how to get them at least to leave their email before they leave. So drop that in your business, Laurel, and we'll try to see if we can give you some ideas. So go ahead. You were going to say something.
So the super high bounce rate. It's not completely uncommon to hear that from people because of the sheer amount of traffic people get from Pinterest and the fact that people coming from Pinterest probably are newer visitors, don't know you real well, and they're in that kind of browsing mindset. So you do have to make sure it's easy to opt in, which means not waiting until the bottom of the page to say, hey, sign up for my email, or hey, get my checklist. I know it's very controversial, right? The pop-ups or the slide-ins or the exit intent boxes. People always say they hate them, but they work. Right. So I don't know. I'm torn because it's like, don't do things people hate, but
so
they hate them so much. Why are they using them?
It's very funny because I was just in a mastermind with Kim Garst, and Ian Cleary was in there, and we talked about this today. And he was using Opt-in Monster as an example. And he does what he uses the exit intent. Because if they're leaving, he says 70% of people aren't going to come back to your website anyway. And having that exit intent when they're leaving already, and then that comes up and says, hey, by the way, I have this free download, or, something like that, they work. Now, he also said, and we've all gone to the to those websites, especially on mobile, where the opt-in is like, covers everything and you can't find the X and you can't see the content and you're just like, I'm done. I'm not even going to mess with this. So there's that fine line. But I think like the exit intent to me is really attractive because it's the least anger inducing one there is, I think. Right. So.
Yeah, I also feel like there's a nice way to do it and kind of an in-your-face way to do it. The ones that will say, would you like my masterclass for free? And the options are, yes, enter your email, or no, I don't like money.
I'm a worthless person. Click here if you're a worthless person. Yeah, that's what I'm like. Okay, buddy. Yeah. So
no, that's when I'm done.
Right. Yeah. So Laurel finally, she came back with this. She goes, it's an eco-friendly sustainability niche.
Okay, but it's a product. So let's say it is a cleaning product because we don't really know.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Did you come up? Okay. So it's a cleaning product. So you could do spring cleaning checklist, right? All the things you don't think about, like clean. Oh, I should probably do this. Like clean the little ledges above the windows in your sunroom, or all of your floorboards. And oh, by the way, here are some great products. So what I would probably do with that, have a checklist and leave it pretty brand neutral. And then at the end, I would include a coupon for it. So that way you can not only track how well it's converting, but it's very, very useful, very helpful. And then, even as a bonus, you get a little coupon. What would you do?
Well, I want to bring up this quote from Christy. She says, and this is a great little plug that we didn't even ask for, but she said it anyway. She goes, I am on several Tailwind Tribes that supports this. Those tribes are supportive. So that is one of the cool things about Tailwind Tribes. And so we wanted to give a shout out because Christy said so. So, and here's another great question from Audrey that came in. You guys have tons of great questions today. He says, is there a way we can collect leads without spending too much money on ads? Did you have any success with free traffic from Pinterest? To be honest, most of my traffic is free from that I get opt-ins from my Manly Tackle box that I put out. And the cool things, if you do ads, I still get traffic from some of those. I got boosted because they have a huge social proof on them when it says like 5K download or whatever. So anyway, what are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. So that one client, the first client of mine that we always talk about, it was all free. And it was just a tremendous volume. So he had a tremendous volume of traffic, partly because he was an early adopter and partly because of the topic. It was health and nutrition, which is massive. But I think because the images. So I was working with Tina. We both know Tina. She was a great designer, and so the images were beautiful. The topics were really interesting, and so we just got a ton of leads. We didn't pay for any of them.
Yeah,
it's great.
Cool. I do want to bring up this question as well, because this does have to do with what kind of leads you're wanting to, or like freebies that you want to put out kind of in the smart feed and kind of start planning. She goes, how far ahead does your content and pins need to be? For instance, it's summer, but do we need to pin for autumn now? And I wanted to go ahead and do a little plug that there is a great content planner that Tailwind has put out that helps you think of these things ahead of time, because usually what I tell people is like, when Walmart starts rolling stuff out, you should have been ahead of that by about 2 months. It can be like, yeah. So, but Tailwind, if you want to get a little more specific and accurate, then you probably go download Tailwind's free planner, and we'll make sure we put that link below. So
we will. And also, Pinterest just came out with what's trending in June, and it is very, very summary. So their overall recommendation is start pinning 30 to 45 days in advance, and it's different depending on the season. So obviously with big things like Christmas, you want to start way earlier than that. But in general, 30 to 45 days. This is a slow time of year on Pinterest for most people.
Yeah.
So so it's pretty much summer right now. So let me grab this link for you about what's trending.
Right. And while you're grabbing that link, I want to pull up this question from Judith, and she asks, can a product-based biz, arts, prints, and pillows, have a lead magnet that is not just a money discount? What are your thoughts on that, Elisa? Because I have an idea, but go ahead.
Yes, art, prints, and pillows have a lead magnet. Yes, I'm trying to think of what that would be. So you go first. If you already have an idea for something.
One of the things you could do would be like, I'm just thinking, because I've seen a lot right now in Pinterest, is a Father's Day gift guide. So if you have pillows that have to do with Father's Day or guy stuff or man cave or something like that, you would make like, some sort of downloadable, or like, gifts for dad, free gifts, or, here's some ideas for dads for Father's Day, and they could come and do that. You could, think of since I'm doing a lot of my pins have to do with man cave, I'd be like, how to decorate a man cave, free tips, give us your email, sign up, and we'll, help you make the ultimate man cave. Anything like that where you're giving advice, or like, here's how to do something. So since it's pillows, and if you're doing, if you're selling digital, I'm just guessing, digital art on your pillows, how to take great photos for print, my free guide, download this. So stuff like that, I think when you're giving like advice how to do something better, but it also ties into your product, that's what I think would make a good download. What are your thoughts?
I think you're absolutely right, because, thunder.
Uh-oh. Stay there. Don't go away.
No, I won't go. I'll try not to go away. Okay. Yes, you're absolutely right, because what people are going to Pinterest for is planning and inspiration. So if you can get in at that stage of their journey towards whatever it is they're working on, then that's a great place to be. And then you can also start retargeting them either with ads or just with organic pins that may show up in their feed now that they have engaged with this particular pin of yours.
Mm-hmm. I love the community here at Tailwind, because they're all giving her great advice in the comments. They're saying, make one of your art pieces into a phone background and share a download of that file. I love that idea. I think that is really cool. A lot of people are doing stuff like that, and very, very cool. So, great ideas, everybody. Yeah. So, there was a question before, and I can't even pull it up because we're getting so many good ones, of like, hey, do you guys have any examples of pins? And we do. So let me pull that up for you. Hopefully you can hear us. We didn't have time to test, but I think we'll be good. So, Elisa, tell us about this first one here. This Pinterest marketing audit. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yes.
Cool. Good.
Hopefully everyone can hear us.
All
right. So this is a pretty popular approach, and most of the ones, I think all the ones that we're sharing today have this visual representation. And it's not popcorn, it's rain on my roof, so excuse me.
You're fine.
But it's a visual representation of what they're going to get. And this one here is probably very literal. That's probably exactly what that PDF is going to look like when you download it. But yeah, this is a great one. The little arrow draws the eye there. They have the branding with their URL at the bottom. I mean, Jeff's not going to like the font there. It's a little too curly probably to read on mobile, but
it's not horrible. And I want to do this comment because Christy goes, "Oh my gosh, that's mine." So I'm glad that's very cool that we got hers up there. So very cool. So
thanks for being here, Christy. In fact, this was Christy Hill had asked for some examples of these, and I went through that thread and pulled that out. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, very, very cool. So let's go to the next one. So this is the ultimate Etsy starter kit, and we know that Etsy and Pinterest have a great kind of relationship. You see a lot of stuff that do well here. So talk us through this one.
Okay, I love this one because it has a couple elements that work really well on Pinterest, which is it's a flat lay.
Okay.
And it's pink, right? And flowers. Does really great on Pinterest. Again, it has that arrow with the free guide. I love this font, this blue font here, very pretty. And that photo there of the ultimate Etsy starter kit, it may or may not look like that when you download it, but who cares, right? It shows you like, this is what I'm going to get. So, I mean, you know what you're in for. And I just love this one. The URL at the bottom is great branding. So yeah, it's pretty. I would click on that.
Yeah. And let's talk just real quick while we're here, why it's important because of the algorithm to have these nice, clean, crisp, clear text overlays, because a lot of people don't realize, because I'm still seeing a lot, especially when I'm talking, because I do a lot of Pinterest consulting for people who sell products, and a lot of there's still this big trend about just putting the product on there with just a product shot. And I think that's, like we've talked about before, it's worth testing, but I've been really pushing hard to have text on the pin because of what you have and others have said. So kind of talk us through that, why that's important.
Okay, so what I and others have said, I'm guessing, is that Pinterest does read the text on your image. Is that what you're alluding to?
Yeah, because
yes, they do.
That's just one more way to be found, and we try to do everything we can to be found. And I like sometimes the clean look of just a product or like a recipe that looks really nice, but I really want to give the best bang for my buck, so I always try to do text as well.
Yeah, and you know what though? I think that there might be something of an exception for certain products. Okay. And I think like you said, test it, of course, but some things it's just kind of obvious what you're looking at, so it may not actually need not need that text. The other thing is too, when you think about the visual search aspect, which I don't know how many people are using it, but certainly Pinterest is using that AI to kind of categorize items. So I think that when it's a product item like that and it's not a flat lay or something with text on it, I have a feeling that kicks in a bit more and will influence where you show up in search. I'm just guessing, but from what we know about Pinterest and their kind of focus on visual search, I think do both, right? So that you can show up in a visual search either on Pinterest or if somebody is using visual search.
Gotcha. So here's a great point that I wanted to bring up, that Christy says, great use of a gradient under the font. Now, it may be hard to see on your screen, but she did a great job of having a background behind the image to give it contrast, but really does a great job of making that text pop by using that gradient, so it's not busy and you can really read the text clear. And I think that's a great little design tip there, to use gradients to give you some more, variety in your pin, but also making sure that text is super clear. So yeah, great. Right. Thanks for pointing that out, Christy.
And I'm going to share a link of Pinterest Creative Gallery. It's a bunch of pins that they are reporting have worked really well, and most of them are product pins. So I just shared that.
So here's our last one we wanted to talk about. This is how to start meal planning and save time. Of course, I love this because it is so clear and they're, it's boom, it'll show up on mobile really quick. It tells what it's doing, how do you start meal planning? Okay, boom, that's all that I need. I want to save time. That's hitting a pain point that most people want to save time. And so I just think it's great. Once again, it has that arrow and pointing to, give you to kind of draw your eyes in to, oh, it's a 7-day meal plan. So very, very cool.
Yeah. So all the images that I pulled in are ones that show the lead magnet on the cover. Is that what you're doing, or are you using something else?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Well, the examples that we've just shared, they all have that visual representation of the actual download.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're doing, or are you doing something different?
I play with both of them because I always want to test because, does that make a difference? I think on this one, it's kind of a great way to get 2 headlines in there. You know what I mean? It's got, if you missed it the first time, and it visually ties it into the other one too. So, I think it's kind of a genius way to do it if you can make it, if you can make it work like that. This one, it's kind of to download the free plan, when it's small like that, I would probably make a higher contrast between that and the green background, just because it kind of can get lost. Not when it's big, it looks great, but when it's small, you got to remember most people are coming and looking at your pins on a mobile device, and they're going to decide right there if it's worth to click on to make it bigger. So I would make it pop a little more.
Yeah, you know what they could do, because they've said already that it's a free mail plan and a shopping list. They could just say download now and make that bigger. Not have to say all that, but that was a great point though about kind of double headlines here on the pin and on the visual representation, plus on the little picture of the ebook it says 7-day, and also pesto and margaritas sounds like a really great combination. So right,
so it does. Yeah. So I want to go back to Christy's pin here, because she brings up a great point about what she's actually getting results-wise on this. She goes, my pin actually goes straight to my homepage where my opt-in is located. So she's got her opt-in on her homepage of her site. I get great traffic to this pin and tons of signups. So that's really good to see the results. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, Christy, would you want to share your URL?
Yeah, that'd be great. Drop that in there, because that would let people, and who knows, they may even want to opt in.
They may.
That's right.
I mean, a Pinterest marketing audit. That's a good thing to do.
So, so those are examples of things that really, really work well. Let's drop in while we're kind of moving towards the latter part of the show of some of the tools that you and I both use to create these pins, and also we mentioned lead pages, but we have some other ones we want to mention as well.
Right. Okay. But I do want to talk about something.
Oh, okay.
That Pinterest did. So
okay.
Yeah. So Pinterest did this study of 21,000 pins, and people are going to get really tired of me talking about it, but that's too bad because it's amazing. So they looked at what works depending on what your objective is. Okay. So you could have your objective being awareness, or email signups like we're talking about today, or online sales or offline sales, or just general pin awesomeness. And you're going to see that from us a bit more with something we're working on. But we're going to talk about what encourages and increases email signups. So they went through and figured out what elements actually increase that conversion rate. So if you show somebody wearing or using your product, that'll get you 25% higher conversion rate. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. 25%. I'll take that. So, a text overlay that conveys specific details about the features of your product or your service, that's 61% higher email conversion lift. That's pretty big.
Now, can you drop this study in for people who want to read this themselves? Because I think there's some really incredible data that you just said there. So
it is like 22 minutes of Pinterest gold right there. Best webinar they've ever done, I think. All right. And then another one is for the pin description. If you put your brand name in the first sentence of that description, that'll give you a 54% higher conversion lift. And
wait, I want to ask the question on that. Okay. So does that mean any brand name, or does this only work for like big brands? Or you're saying like, if I put mainly Pinterest tips in the first part of the description, it's going to give me a better thing? Or if somebody
to Pinterest tips, everybody knows that.
Right. No, But anyway, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
Because I think, oh, that's just for the other, those are just for the big brands. Yeah, if I put Tide in there, of course everybody's going to know. But, you know,
I don't know.
are they
I
going
mean,
to,
is that intuitive? Would you have assumed that? I would not have.
right.
So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't think we can assume that it wouldn't work for other people. I think it's definitely, these are all worth a try. Again, of course, the studies that they did were of pins with tremendous amount of distribution and exposure. But if it worked for them, it's absolutely worth at least a try.
Right.
So yeah, I would do that. And then another thing would be the call to action. That's always super important. So actionable, clear wording in your description copy. So again, sign up, enroll, discover. Those led to a 70% higher email conversion lift. And again, like we talked about, if you're going to promote that pin that leads to a landing page, you're going to have to say sign up or enroll in order to promote it.
Cool. I want to bring up this question before we get into tools.
Okay.
If that's all you've got for the stats.
Yeah, that's
okay.
what I got.
Okay. Because I think there were some people asking the question, what are tribes? Because some people don't know what those are when we mention them. And this goes right into this question is, I have been filling my Tailwind, this is from Christy, I've been filling my Tailwind queue with other tribe members only, but the support on some tribes trickled off after a couple of months. I have 2 niches. Should I have been filling the queue with pins directly from Pinterest? Great question. First, Elisa, tell us what tribes are, and then maybe dive into Christy's question about tribes.
Okay, so Tailwind Tribes, it's a product within Tailwind where like-minded bloggers or website owners will create a tribe, which is made up of people that you know and whose content you know and trust, so that you can go in there and you still want to check links and everything, but once you start to get to know people, that's good to save, that's good to schedule. It saves a tremendous amount of time. And then the other benefit of that is that you put your own content in and people share it out. So that kind of leads into Christy's question. Should I have been filling the queue with pins directly from Pinterest? Is that meaning
she said her tribe was kind of slacking off, and so should she have been doing more, she was just filling her queue with tribe mates and not doing so.
Well, I mean, you do want to see that reciprocal action there. That does feel nice, and that's how it should work. But if you think about it this way, if you do it from Pinterest, you really, really, really need to check links on Pinterest to make sure they go to the right place. And also, I mean, there's no guarantee how old, how new. They're great. Absolutely, you can save from Pinterest to Pinterest. But tribes oftentimes will have newer content in them. And oftentimes you'll know the people. So if you're having trouble with activity in tribes, you could create your own with people that you know. Jeff and I are in tribes together. I know Jeff. I'm going to share his content most of the time. No, I'm going to always share his content.
Easy there.
But that's the best way to make sure things stay active, is when you actually know the people in your tribe. And it makes it super easy to keep yourself active on Pinterest by sharing great quality content that's in your niche.
Yeah. So I manage a lot of Pinterest clients. And so one of the prerequisites is they have to be in tribes because of this reason. And so, because I use it to my advantage, that I don't have to waste a lot of time going and checking links on Pinterest. I find if you're not in a good tribe that's not sharing your stuff, if you're sharing them, then I would find some new tribes. But the most of mine that I'm in, I almost exclusively, now once in a while I'll go into the Pinterest smart feed and find some stuff that I really want to share to my client's audience. But most of the time I'm sharing almost exclusive tribe content. One, because they're going to share my stuff. If they see that I shared, 7 of their pins and, I put some in there, they probably will share mine because they see that what I'm so active in there. And also it's quality content. And I don't have to worry about stuff. And so I mostly use all tribes for filling my queue for myself and clients. So
yeah, especially if I know the people, I'll just save.
Yeah. And Christy says she does the same thing for her clients as well. Yeah. So
that's great. Oh, and we do have a special offer for our listeners, don't we?
Yeah. It's if you go to bit.ly/marketing-unleashed. I can't say unleashed. Yeah. Marketing Unleashed, that you can tell them. I mean, they get a free month, don't they?
No,
Oh,
you get 100 free pins.
oh,
You can use
yeah.
them all in a month, or you can use them in a year if you want to. You can try out Tribes. You can try out Smart Loop. You also can get a trial for Instagram. That's 30 free posts. And on top of that, if you do decide to upgrade, you get a discount if you use that link.
See, and
So
that's what I meant by, it's you
a
can
free
do a
month.
lot
Oh yeah, you
in
can do a
with that
lot.
for that.
Yeah,
So
and we
I'm
want you
like,
to
it's the
try
same.
all the features. Like
Because I'm
in
telling you
Pinterest.
guys, back in the day, group boards was the thing. Tribes are like group boards on steroids, and group boards get dinged in the smart feed. Pinterest has said so. I mean, tribes are where it's at if you like group boards and you find value in that. So,
Yep.
anyway,
But the other thing too is that if you can try all the features. So there's an always free Smart Loop plan. There's an always free Tribes plan, right? So it's free for your trial. It's free if you upgrade. There are different levels of it, but there's going to be a free one. The other thing with the Instagram product is that you can try hashtag finder and hashtag lists in the free trial, which huge time saver.
cool. So let's talk about some tools to use as we wrap. We're got about 15 minutes. So let's talk about some tools we use. We mentioned lead pages. This is for creating, of course, landing pages if you want to have that for your pin. Opt-in monster is another thing we talked about, using that, the getting people to sign up when you get them to your site from Pinterest, kind of having that last click attribution. If they close and try to leave, it'll pop up and say, hey, don't forget, you can download this free, whatever. So those are great tips. What are some other ones, Lisa, that you have?
Unbounce is really good. Unbounce is easy to use. You can create variants easily and do A/B testing. Something really important to keep in mind, especially if you're sending traffic from Pinterest to your landing pages, is that it's mobile optimized. Jeff, you mentioned that with the big pop-ups overtaking the whole screen on mobile, super annoying. So, but any of those programs will allow you to make sure that mobile is optimized. Just make sure you do that.
So I wanted to pull up this because she goes, yes, your tribes have been a game changer for me. So I think Judith mentioned that. So that's awesome. And I want to answer this because this is somebody who just started. I think it's a great question to ask. She goes, I just started using Pinterest as well as Tailwind for my business 1 week ago. Thank you so much for trying out Tailwind, Chelsea. And so she goes, I want to use Pinterest to drive traffic to my website and freebies. She's in the nutrition business. What's your number one tip for me as a total beginner? That's a great question.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm itching to go first. Okay. So this is probably my favorite industry to work in because there's just the possibilities are endless and it's super popular on Pinterest. So what I would do, especially if you feel like Pinterest is something that you enjoy and you want to stick with it, is use Pinterest for your content planning. So nowadays, really the secret to Pinterest success is your content strategy. And what you can do with Pinterest is you can pin other people's pins, and now you can go into the new analytics and see which of those pins are driving clicks, which ones of those pins are bringing traffic to somebody else. And then you can figure out, okay, then I need to write about this certain topic, or I need to try a pin style that looks kind of like this pin that's getting a lot of clicks. So I would start by pinning other people's content to learn more about what's going to work in your niche on Pinterest. And then I would just start creating content. So every week you're going to create a blog post. Every week you're going to create several brand new pins for that blog post and older blog posts that you already have. And before you know it, you're going to start getting traffic and leads. That's what I would do, and I'm super excited for you.
Yes.
What about you, Jeff?
Cool. So what I would do is, for a long time, I didn't have a lot of content on my site, but I made sure to serve my audience. And so I had people follow me on Pinterest for the stuff I was pinning. And so always remember your audience. Don't just try to shove stuff, that your content all the time. So I see a lot of people when they first start out, all they want to do is make their own pins and pin all their own stuff. But remember, you've got a lot of people hopefully following you or learning about you, and to remember your audience. So serve them first. And with tribes now, once again, I'm going to go on to tribes because you find a good tribe and get into that and start sharing each other's content. And, if they're not, then go into a different tribe. There's, try to find as many ones. And there's no reason you can't leave one that's not working for you. It's not a big deal. So find that and really participate in that. Look at the rules. Really push people's content out that you want to push yours out, and that makes sense for your audience. And I think that would be my number one tip is because group boards aren't as that was the thing when you first got started. You would get on a group board, and that would help amplify your content a lot. That just doesn't really have the same bang for its buck like it used to, but Tribes does. And so that's why I like it, because it's also built inside of Tailwind. You can track it. You can see who's sharing your stuff. You do get the fresh stuff in there. You can trust people once you start getting to know them. And so that's what I would invest heavily in Tribes if that were me.
That's a great idea. Yeah, and the last thing that you want to do is be spammy and repetitive with your own content.
Right.
So, yeah, hitting the same thing 10 times in a row. Yeah. It's not great.
So very cool. So those are the kind of the tips. We have some. This is a great question from Christy, because I feel her pain. She goes, "Do I have to blog? I am not a blogger. Seems like you have to blog to sell anything."
She's yelling at us.
I feel your pain, Christy. I don't like to blog that much either, but what I do is from the very beginning, I did live shows and I would convert those into a blog. So if you want to sell something, you still have to get a way to get your stuff out there and create content in some way around your product. So if you have a product, then, maybe you could do some lives and some demos about it. Do a show, do a Facebook Live, an hour of Facebook Live where you're talking, answering customers' questions. You can chunk those up, and those can be pieces of content you can put out on different places. You can make video pins out of them now. There's all different things you can do. So if you don't like to blog, maybe you can talk and somebody else can try to transcribe it. That's what I do. Yeah.
We use Rev, right?
Yeah, you've got to have content out there. And the reason I gravitated towards video is because I did it once, and I could get audio podcasts, I could do video stuff, I could chop it up. And so find out what you're comfortable with and figure out a way to hack it to make it into multiple pieces of content. So you don't have to blog. Yeah. But it does help.
Well, all right. I mean, it really does help. There's a Simple Pin podcast about that. I would highly suggest that you listen to.
Right.
And you don't have to write 1,000-word blog post, because your aim is not to rank on Google. Your aim is to attract traffic from Pinterest. So what you could do is you could do like a mini blog post where it's basically a glorified product listing, right? You could just inspire people with a different way to use your product and write a couple paragraphs so that when they get there, they feel like it's enough. It doesn't have to be.
But any content you can create, you can usually find a way to transform it into a blog type of thing. Like for me, I take the transcript and have somebody turn it into a blog. And so, I mean, yes, you don't have to blog, but you have to make content. I mean, you can't. There's got to be a way to make content, because that's how. And you've got to make it in a way that you're solving a problem for people, or you're helping them do something. Because we've talked about this before, is people really don't care about you online. They don't, I mean, they don't. They want what
we do.
We care about you. Elise and I do. But on Pinterest, they're coming there. They're not coming there to oh, she's got a product, I'll buy it. They're going there because I need to make I need to make meals for 7 days a week, and I don't know how. And that's why that pin was attractive. It's like, oh, I can do that. That solves a problem. So remember that, and serve your audience that way.
Yeah, and it might not even be something that they are consciously looking for. That's one of the great things about Pinterest, is it's a lot about discovery. So if you can think of a problem that they haven't even realized that they have yet and solve that for them, if they come across it, it's like, well, how did she know? She was in my head. Yeah.
Okay, this is a great last question from Erin as we kind of wrap things up. She goes, I am a travel advisor. So far, not much in the way of repins, but I really haven't posted any of my own pins on Tribes, just getting started on that aspect. Do you have any advice on what to pin?
Wow, so you're sharing other people's content into tribes. That's very nice of you. Yeah, so what to pin as a travel advisor. Hopefully you have a content plan in place where, again, we're blogging about advice on travel. So you're going to create a pinnable image, right? So that's 600 by 900 with the logo at the top or the bottom. You're going to have text on the image, and you're going to pin those.
Right. And so I'm seeing that she's seeing all the great content is relevant to her industry on tribes, and she's taking her tribe mates and pinning that to her account. So
Great.
Some stuff for her to create. I would think of, if you're in some great travel tribes, it's hard to say, then, I've seen a lot of great stuff because one of my clients is kind of in that area of like how to take great travel photos, Instagrammable places in Boston. You think about all those kind of things like that you can create, that people who are interested in travel, that solves a problem. I'm telling you, Instagram stuff right now and travel, I would think of things like that, like Instagrammable places, like around the places that you're like promoting, like in Paris, what to do in Paris when you are on a budget, what to do when you travel to Budapest. I've seen things like, is it safe for women to walk around New York by themselves, or how to, stuff like that really serves a need to the people who are traveling. Like, I'm getting ready to go to London. Right. I'm like, what do I need to can I get back into the United States after I go? I mean, stuff, stuff that
well, that's a good point. So that's like travel planning, right? Packing planning, how to find good deals on things.
Stuff that there's so many things you can do. So create a little guide of stuff, because you're in the industry, these are the things you already are talking to your clients about, like how to get ready for an international trip. Okay, here's a checklist I've already had. So, well, make that a PDF, make that a downloadable, make it a pin in Canva, and boom, you've got your own pin that you can put to your tribes.
Yeah, if you've ever found yourself thinking, if I have to answer this question one more time, then you need a blog post about it.
Yeah. So there's some really cool stuff you can do in there. So I would.
So Jeff, did we hit 300?
I didn't see it get through. We got close. We were like at close to 200 and something at one point. So not yet. I guess I'll have to keep sleeping in my old T-shirt. But no, I'm not going to. People joining late, they're like, what is he talking about? He's sending me an old T-shirt? No. Well, you'll have to come in next week and you'll have to see the contest there. But as always, we'd love for you guys to go to bit.ly/marketing-unleashed to find out more about Tailwind. We talked a lot about tribes today because it's so cool. You can get in there and test it out, and let us know with your questions. And we're going to be coming back for you guys who are watching the replay, answering questions in the comments. So if you're watching this late or watching this, after it's been live, go ahead, feel free to leave your questions, and we will get to them, because we want to make this show all about you guys. And so hopefully we help to answer some of your questions today. At least I'll let you have the last word.
Oh my goodness. This is something new. Yes, I just shared also, we have a guest blog post that just went up today about how to use Pinterest and opt-in freebies to increase your email list. And this whole video will be embedded in that as well. But if you prefer to read about how this was interesting, submitted by one of our members who increased her email list by 700% in just a couple of months when she started using Pinterest to build her email list. Yeah, pretty impressive. So she's sharing how she does it, even the pin design she uses. So check it out.
Very cool. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time. Ask any questions. We'll get right back to those as soon as we possibly can. And with that, we will see you next week. Bye everybody.